The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty paths of the village. Tambu stood at the edge of the maize field, her hands brushing the golden stalks as she watched the day fade into night. Her heart was heavy with the weight of decisions she did not yet fully understand. She was just a girl, after all, but her spirit was much older, much wiser, than her years would suggest. In the distance, she could hear the faint sounds of laughter from the homestead where her mother and aunts prepared the evening meal. Their voices were full of the stories and songs that had filled her childhood, but today they seemed distant, almost foreign. Tambu felt a stirring within her, a pull towards something beyond the familiar rhythms of her life. She could not yet name it, but she knew it was there, just beyond the edge of her understanding. The path ahead was not clear, but Tambu knew she could not stay where she was. She had to move forward, even if she did not yet know where it would lead. She could feel the expectations of her family pressing down on her, the weight of tradition and duty that had shaped her life since she was born. But there was something else, too, something that called to her from beyond the confines of the village, something that promised a different kind of life. Tambu had always been different, or at least that's what the others said. She was the one who had always asked questions, who had always wanted to know more. Her mother would often scold her for it, telling her to be content with what she had, to not reach too far, for that was the way of things. But Tambu could not help herself. There was a fire in her that would not be quenched, a hunger that could not be satisfied with simple answers. She thought back to the day when it had all changed, the day when she had first seen the world outside the village. It had been a bright, hot day, the kind that made the air shimmer with heat. Tambu had been sent to fetch water from the river, as she did every day, but this time, something had been different. As she walked along the narrow path, she had seen a figure in the distance, a woman, her clothes bright and unfamiliar, walking with a confidence that seemed out of place in the quiet countryside. Tambu had watched her, fascinated, as the woman approached. She had never seen anyone like her before, someone so self-assured, so full of purpose. The woman had smiled at Tambu as she passed, a knowing smile that seemed to say, "I see you. I know who you are." Tambu had felt a jolt of recognition, as if the woman had seen straight into her soul and understood what she had not yet put into words. That night, as she lay in her small bed, Tambu could not stop thinking about the woman. Who was she? Where had she come from? And, most importantly, where was she going? Tambu wanted to follow her, to leave the village and find out for herself what lay beyond the horizon. But she knew it was impossible. Girls like her did not leave. They stayed and did what was expected of them. They married, had children, and lived the lives that had been laid out for them by their mothers and grandmothers before them. But the seed had been planted. Over the weeks and months that followed, Tambu found herself thinking more and more about the world outside. She would listen with rapt attention to the stories her brother told of the mission school he attended, imagining herself there, learning things she had only dreamed of. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that she could not stay where she was. She had to go, to see for herself what the world had to offer. The decision had not been easy. Her mother had been furious when Tambu told her she wanted to go to school. "What foolishness is this?" she had demanded. "You have a place here, with your family. Why do you want to throw it all away?" But Tambu had been determined. She had pleaded with her father, who had eventually relented, though he warned her that it would not be easy. "The world is not kind to girls who think they can be something more," he had said. But Tambu had not been deterred. She knew what she wanted, and she was willing to fight for it. The day she left the village was a bittersweet one. As she walked away, she could feel the eyes of the villagers on her, some filled with pity, others with disapproval. But there were also those who looked at her with something like admiration, as if they, too, understood the pull of the unknown. Tambu did not look back. She kept her eyes on the path ahead, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. The mission school was everything she had hoped it would be, and more. For the first time in her life, Tambu felt like she belonged, like she was doing something that mattered. She soaked up the lessons like a sponge, eager to learn everything she could. But it was not without its challenges. The other girls at the school came from different worlds, with different expectations and dreams. Tambu often felt out of place, her village upbringing marking her as different. But she did not let that stop her. She worked hard, determined to prove that she belonged. And slowly, she began to make friends, to find her place among the other girls. There were still moments of doubt, times when she wondered if she had made the right choice, but those moments were fleeting. Tambu knew she was on the right path, even if it was a difficult one. As the years passed, Tambu grew into a young woman, confident and sure of herself in a way she never could have imagined. She had found a new home at the mission school, a place where she could be herself, where she could dream of a future that was hers to shape. But she never forgot where she came from. The village was still a part of her, and she carried it with her, even as she moved further and further away from it. One day, as she sat under a tree on the edge of the school grounds, Tambu found herself thinking back to that woman she had seen so many years ago. She wondered where she was now, what had become of her. Had she found what she was looking for, or was she still searching? Tambu knew she might never know, but that was okay. The woman had given her a gift, even if she didn't realize it. She had shown Tambu that there was more to life than what she had known, that there was a whole world out there, waiting to be discovered. Tambu smiled to herself as she watched the sun set behind the hills, the same sun that had set over her village so many times before. She was still that girl, in many ways, still searching, still questioning. But she was also something more now, something stronger, something that could not be contained by the boundaries of a single place or a single life. She was Tambu, and she was free.